down to 50. Say something?
Hello, welcome to Podemup, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's better.
Are you talking?
I am talking, can you hear me?
I can't hear you at all.
No.
No, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have done anything. I should have left it be. Okay,
Types stopped recording. Types left channel and disconnected.
Well, this is going well. Well, once we've finally sorted out our technical difficulties, you can look forward to another jam-packed episode of Podemup, featuring no less than 3 different games from the Lemmings series and the book club this month, plus Nintendo Direct, SkateBIRD, Final Fantasy IX, and lots more in episode 37 of the Podemup podcast. Hello, welcome to episode 37 of Podemup. My name is Ollie. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Tibbs. Hello, Tibbs.
hello.
How you doing?
Really good.
Yeah.
I love how we've sort of streamlined our recording process now, so it's just click and go.
It
you know,
is,
there's no,
very much
there's
so.
no trouble.
There's
It's
no
great.
trouble, there's no programs not working, there's no you not being able to hear me, there's no being able to hear myself back on your end. It's brilliant, you know.
After 37 shows,
Yeah.
we've got it down to a fine art. You know, it's professionalism that keeps the show going the way it does.
Absolutely. We definitely didn't have any of those issues that I just
No.
mentioned at all.
No.
We are absolute pros at this. So, what have you been up to?
Games.
Games.
Yeah,
Mm,
mostly
up
games.
to games, yep.
SkateBIRD.
Yeah. So, former incoming indie SkateBIRD, actually. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
I was really looking forward to it as well. I thought it's a lovely idea for a game.
Yeah,
I
me too.
love the trailer.
Mhm.
And I backed it on Kickstarter.
Mhm.
So I got the code through.
Yep.
And
And you very kindly gave me another one.
yeah,
I
was going to say,
version.
yeah, really nice of them. They said on the email, it said, you know, there's 2 separate codes here. So if you know if you know a friend who wants a game, give them the second code,
Yeah.
and away you go.
That's
so,
really cool. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for doing that, mate. Thanks for.
Yeah.
And
So
I've had a little play with it myself as well.
yeah. I can't say I like it that much.
It feels a little bit unfinished still, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. It's a really nice idea. I love the actual models of the little birds. I got myself a little zebra finch, and he's got little headphones on. I love the fact that when you bail from a skateboard, he just sort of like rolls over and
Yeah.
tweets.
Yeah.
There's so much to like about it, but it just doesn't feel like it's quite there. It feels like it feels early access, really.
It does a bit, doesn't it? And it isn't, presumably. It's meant to be a finished game, right?
It is a finished game, yeah. The main thing is the camera is just horrid.
Yeah, it's a bit wobbly, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really wobbly, and it just makes it very hard to. I'm not really sensitive usually to bad cameras, or you know. There's games where people complain about the cameras, and I've played it, and I thought, well, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, making mountains out of molehills. But I really couldn't get on with this one, and there was the field of view, the default field of view that was set. It was a bit wide, and it just made my stomach go a little bit. Ugh, and I had to adjust it down. I don't think I've ever adjusted the field of view on a game ever.
No.
It just didn't gel with me. But I know they put out a tweet, or it was either on Twitter or it was on the Steam page, where they said they're aware of the camera issues and they're going to fix it. They're going to basically recode the camera code from scratch, because they're using some like a built-in Unity camera.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're going to write their own camera from scratch, but it's going to obviously that's quite a job to do. So it's going to be a few updates down the line. So I think it's a game I'll probably revisit once it's had a few patches and a few improvements. But yeah, I got to say, I don't like to say, but I was a little bit disappointed with that.
Yeah, I think it's got potential if they can fix up a few of those things, because it's a lovely idea. Just if you don't remember what I was talking about, if you haven't seen it, it's just Tony Hawk's but with little birds riding skateboards around, and they're sort of bird sized, so they're just riding around a room on these little tiny skateboards. Lovely idea.
It is a really lovely idea, and the graphically and presentation wise, it's spot on. But I think the game engine itself just isn't quite there yet. It's not quite cooked yet. I think
looks a little bland as well. I noticed just sort of the room in that first area. Anyway, I didn't go beyond that, but it's just, I don't know. Could use a little bit more sprucing up, maybe. I don't know.
A little bit of sprucing up, I think, and. Yeah, just they have acknowledged that some of the tutorial aspects of it aren't really that clear. The controls aren't exactly like Tony Hawk. The physics aren't Tony Hawk physics. It's like the way you jump higher and things and get more air is a bit different. And there's a mission there called Get Big Friends Charger or something, and that's basically the tutorial for how to get higher jumps and things. And a lot of people didn't really get that. So they're going back, and on the next update, they're going to be tweaking a lot of the tutorials and a lot of the first area to try and make it a bit clearer what you need to do and how to control it and how to do tricks and things. So they're taking a lot of this stuff on board, and I think. After a few updates, it should be a lot more impressive.
Yeah, sounds promising that they're sort of committed. They're not just going to push it out and forget about it. They're going to commit to making it a bit better.
I didn't want to come on and just sort of slate it, because it is such a, it's a nice idea for a game. It's an indie studio doing it, and there's obviously a lot of love and a lot of passion behind it. But if someone said to me, should I spend my money on this? I don't know if I could honestly recommend it at the moment in the state it's currently in. Yeah,
no, I would agree. It's a shame they didn't release a version sort of earlier to backers, and because I'm assuming they didn't.
I think there was a couple of demo versions, but they were only on Steam.
Right, okay.
And I didn't really get a chance to play that. Let's see, I should mention I got a free Steam key. For my Kickstarter, and I tried to play it, but my laptop just isn't built for games at all, so I couldn't get to run. So I ended up actually buying it on Switch.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's a shame. You couldn't even use the Steam version.
So okay. I've got the Steam version to use one day when I get a PC capable of playing games. But until then, I bought it on Switch and played it on that. But yeah, there were demo versions released on. I think they were on Steam or they were for PC anyway, and I never really got the chance to check those out.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that anyway.
Yeah,
and
definitely come back and revisit it. I've also been playing a lot of Cruis'n Blast.
Oh yeah, I was looking at this. It's a nice looking sort of arcade racer.
It's so good.
Is it? Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I read a little, or I saw a little review on YouTube. It did look quite nice. Yeah,
it's great. It's just a really good old-fashioned arcade racer. It's great. You just race along these tracks. The tracks are mental. There's like a Yeti, and he smashes a hole in the floor, and then you fall through it. And you can unlock different cars. Some of the cars aren't actually cars. You can unlock a Triceratops.
That's right. Yeah, I saw this. It's crazy. Isn't
it? Triceratops, a hammerhead shark. I've got now a UFO, a unicorn, a fire engine.
Nice.
and they flip around and they spin, and
it's super unrealistic, isn't it? But it's just
yeah.
intentionally so. It's
yeah. It is so good, honestly. I can't recommend it enough. It's really good, and it's just really nice to have an old-fashioned game in the sense that it's got hidden cars and tracks to unlock, and there's no microtransactions, and there's no DLC crap. It's just a pure arcade racing game, and I love it. I can't recommend it enough. I never really played any of the other cruising games.
No, I was going to say I haven't either, really. No. It's a long-running series, isn't it? Well,
yeah.
3 or 4 games in it, I think.
Yeah, because when it came out in the arcade, it turned out to be not true, but it was promoted as being running on the same hardware that the Nintendo Ultra 64 would be using.
That's true, yeah.
And then it turned out to be not anything similar at all. But apparently the guy, I forget his name, the guy who runs the studio, he was one of the creators of the original game. And he's the head of the studio who's done Cruis'n Blast. He said in an interview that depending on how well Cruis'n Blast sells, they might look to do a compilation pack of the other 3 cruising games.
Yeah, no, that sounds
so.
Cool, yeah.
I would love that. So I'm really hoping it sells well because it's just a really good time.
Are all the other ones on the N64? Because I think there's 2 or 3. Yeah, there's 2 or 3 of them, isn't there?
Yeah, there's 3 main cruising games: Cruis'n USA, Cruis'n World, and Cruis'n Exotica.
Yeah.
And then there was another cruising game, but it was actually a Fast and Furious. It was released in the arcade as Fast and Furious to tie in with one of the movies.
Yeah.
And then they bought it to Wii and just named it Cruis'n.
Okay. Right. But it's not really.
It's not really the same thing, I don't think. I've not played it. And then there was Cruis'n Blast in the arcades a few years ago, and then it's finally been ported to home consoles. So
is there a physical for it yet?
Yeah, I bought a physical. Cool. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I might look into getting that because that does look really nice.
Yeah, it's really it's up our street. Really, it's the sort of thing. It feels like a game that would be right at home on the Dreamcast or the Saturn or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Okay, cool. Been playing anything else?
I don't say that's been taking up most of my time. I think. No, that's the 2 main games I've been playing. I've been playing a bit of Hitman 2. I keep going to Hitman 3. I keep going back to Hitman every now and then just because it's quite an addictive little game. But the majority of my, what free time I've had outside of our pick of the month has been on those 2 really.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've taken the plunge and started an RPG.
Oh. Okay.
Final Fantasy 9.
Ah, nice.
So expect me to be talking about this for the next, 6 months or so. It's going to be another Chrono Trigger situation.
Yeah.
I was just sort of looking for what I wanted to play next, and I couldn't quite settle on anything I really wanted to do. At the time, I thought, there's nothing coming up that I really want to play that much. But I've since noticed a couple of things that I do actually want to play. But now I've started this, I can't. But anyway, so I thought I quite fancy trying an RPG again, and I've always wanted to do another Final Fantasy, and I've always quite liked the look of 9, so I've decided to go for it. So I may not be talking about much else for the next few months, but at least you can go through the progress as I go through it. I've done about 3.5 hours, I think. So I don't know how familiar you are with the early phases, how much you can remember.
Yeah. I've played through it a couple of times.
Okay, so we've done the bit where they kidnap the princess and they sort of leave, and all the cannons fire at them and everything, and they've landed in the forest. They're currently in the ice cave.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
So I'm just in the middle of that bit basically. But I like it. Yeah, it's really nice so far. It's it was the same with 7 as well. I love the writing because there's something about the dialogue and the way the characters talk to each other that seems much more organic than a lot of RPGs.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on why, but there's just something about it. There's something more natural and more interesting reading it than a lot of RPGs feel. Like a lot of the characters and the things they say all feel a bit bland and a bit uninteresting sometimes, but not in Final Fantasy.
No, I think when they localize it, I think some RPGs, I think they must translate it really literally.
Yeah.
And it's the dialogue just feels a bit stilted.
That's right.
It's just like a literal translation. But I think when it's localized properly and they make it sound like a native speaker would converse with each other, that's, and I think Final Fantasy really nails that a lot of the time.
That must be it. Yeah. It's all about the translation.
But Final Fantasy IX is a great game. It's tough as nails in places, but
okay.
But I think you enjoy it.
I like the look of it. I like the sort of the more fantasy style thing because I didn't want anything looking sort of too serious and downbeat all the time. So it looks quite bright and vibrant and.
It is. It's really. I'm not stating anything that no one else has stated here, but it really is kind of a love letter to sort of the history of Final Fantasy. There's lots of little Easter eggs to basically all the other Final Fantasy games, and in terms of the gameplay, the characters, and even bits of music. There's I think you might have. When you crashed in the forest, there was the band practicing. Yeah,
from 7, I know it from
Final Fantasy 7. The march.
That's right. Yeah, I recognise that.
Yeah, there's loads of little Easter eggs like that scattered throughout. It's just a really great little send off for the series on that generation.
Yeah, it looks like it's gone quite far since 7 graphically as well, because I'm guessing it was released much later on in the PlayStation's life, and you can see the advancements that have happened in that time with the characters and everything, because obviously 7 there were all these tiny little blocky characters moving around, but they're much more detailed in this, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's great. I find it particularly entertaining when Sid turns up in there, because there's always a Sid in Final Fantasy.
Oh right, okay. The same character or just someone?
No, just someone called Sid.
Oh, okay.
But when he pops up, it's hilarious. So
I'll look out for that. Yeah,
look out for that.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. That's all I've been playing. Oh, did you do any more on Zelda from last month?
I haven't. No, I've got to be honest. No, I've had other things, cropping up and taking up the time. But
I haven't either. I think I did a little bit, but I didn't. I think I'll just do it occasionally, maybe. Just
I was outbid on my secret bid on eBay.
Were you on your secret bid? Someone worked it out.
Yeah, someone worked it out. But sniped it the last minute. But it was only by £5 as well.
It's so annoying, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, where do you draw that line? Where you can. I always go for something and then 26p. I don't know why.
That's what I do as well. I always choose a really odd number.
Yeah,
I assume that other people would just be doing round numbers, and that extra 26p or something might just edge you over.
Or what if they did 1p or 2p or 5p or 10p? So for some reason 26 sounds like something that people wouldn't go that far. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Obviously 26p is nothing, but you don't want to be outbid by that amount. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, eBay's a bit of a battlefield at the moment with all the. Did you end up watching that?
I did. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
It's that's very depressing.
Outrageous.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Well, I think I put a link to it in the show notes last time, and did I put it on Twitter? I can't remember now. But,
we'll put it on Twitter again because it needs needs a signal boost.
I think everyone in the retro gaming community needs to watch it and see what's going on here, because it is pretty disgusting, frankly.
Yeah. Did you see that Sonic the Hedgehog cartridge that sold recently?
Yeah, I did. It was something like, what was it, 400 and something thousand?
Thousand or something, yeah.
Yeah, and just even Yuji Naka noticed it and tweeted about it, didn't he?
I know.
So it's just.
And it was graded like 98% or something, and the box was torn. The cellophane around the box was torn and
just
creased.
Shows it's all a load of absolute rubbish, isn't it?
It's all horse feathers, isn't it?
Yeah. Shocking. Well, I just hope that the bottom falls out of it soon enough, and then we'll get back to doing things normally. I don't know. Anyway, so should we do the news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
News. Okay, there's a few bits actually in the news I've got.
Okay.
Let's do this. The PlayStation CMOS battery fixed.
Yes.
Did you see this? Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes.
That was a victory for everyone involved.
For everyone involved, absolutely. Yeah.
So with this, we've talked about this in a previous episode. It was the sort of the ticking time bomb of once at some point, in theory, PS4s might not be able to run any games, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, basically, if the battery, because there's a battery that keeps the internal clock running, basically. If that battery goes dead, as all batteries eventually will, it would then use the internet. It would connect to the Sony servers to set the internal clock. And it's worth stressing, this isn't the clock that you see in the corner of the screen. That's just for display purposes. That's a separate thing. The clock we're talking about can't be seen or amended by the user in any way. So if you don't have an internet connection, so in the situation where the Sony no longer supports PS4 and it can't connect to the servers anymore, and that battery goes, the PS4 won't boot anything. So physical games won't work, digital games won't work. It's game over. You've got a brick, basically. And the guys over at Does It Play One, who, full disclosure, I volunteer with them and do testing and stuff with them and help them out with a few things. Really kicked up a stink about it, and rightly so, because you can't just have games being neglected like that. And all games aren't just to be forgotten about when the next big thing comes along. It's important to preserve these things, and as long as you've got issues like this, it's a completely unnecessary problem. It's it's DRM or digital rights management, anti-copy, whatever you want to call it. It's a problem that's in place that doesn't need to be there, that it would potentially affect the preservation of the entire PS4 library for future. So they kicked up a stink about it, and Sony, I don't think, have ever actually acknowledged it officially. There were a few tweets from them saying their engineers had looked at it and it wasn't an issue.
That's right. That's what I saw initially.
But in terms of press releases or talking to the press about it, I don't think Sony have ever said anything about it.
No.
But on the latest PS4 firmware, the 9.0, it does seem that it has been fixed.
Does that suggest that it was never an intended thing? To
definitely.
There was just an accident, basically. They didn't mean for that to be the case.
Absolutely. From what we can gather, and speaking with the guys that Does It Play, there's no indication that it was ever an intentional functionality. It was just, it seems like it was an oversight related to probably the trophies is the current best theory. It was to stop people messing about with the clock and unlocking trophies and things like that before they were supposed to.
I see.
And that's it seems to have been sort of an unintended side effect from that. And that seems to have been fixed now with the new firmware version, because there's something, trophies don't act the same way if you're offline. If you play it offline and you unlock the trophies, I can't say I care about trophies particularly, so I haven't tested it myself. But Modern Vintage Gamer did a video on it, and I think he said there were trophies that he had unlocked that were showing as locked again when he was playing it offline, or something like that. But either way, the games work, and that's the important thing to take away from it.
You know what? Now you say that, I think I've had that when my internet has been funny, or sometimes the PS4 doesn't properly connect to the internet. I've had situations where I'm sure I've unlocked a trophy and it just doesn't say that I have.
So I think that's what it boiled down to. But it's good. It's really good that Sony fixed it. The hope now is whether it will be fixed on the PS5 and the PS3. Because it does affect them as well. Not so much with physical games, but certainly digital games are very much affected. So time will tell. Obviously the PS3 isn't a big priority for Sony.
No.
It still gets firmware updates, but generally it's to update the Blu-ray keys, so you can carry on playing the latest Blu-ray films on there. Okay. So the thinking is they might slip it in with the next update for the Blu-ray keys. But
yeah, I suppose it's a case of them assigning development work to do that. And whether they think it's worth doing.
Whether there's a benefit to do it or not.
Yeah, which they may decide there isn't. But hopefully not. You would hope that there'd be nothing other than that. There'd be nothing stopping them from doing that, unless there were certain features on the PS3 or the PS5 that are in conflict with that mean that certain features no longer work, and so they won't do that.
I would hope not. I mean, I would reserve comment, and leave it for someone more technically adept at the PS3, behind the scenes kind of stuff with it. The homebrew scene and the hackers and things like that, probably a better place to speculate. But I wouldn't imagine there's any technical reason why they couldn't do it. I would say if it's not done, it's more a business decision rather than a technical one. But...
Okay, well we'll keep an eye out for those and see if any progress on the PS3 and the PS5 front occurs. Yeah. So sticking with PlayStation, did you see the state of, is it called State of Play? Their little
State of Play?
presentation?
No, I didn't know.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. I got to be honest. I did see it was coming up, but I figured it's all going to be PS5 stuff.
Well, it is. Yeah.
I haven't got one, so.
Well, I watched it to see if there was if it could give me a reason to buy a PS5, and turns out it didn't. Really, for me personally, I know a lot of people. There's a lot of games that did get us excitement. There's another Spider-Man game coming. There's I can't remember. Another, what's it called? God of War things, but it's all just the same things over and over again. Do you know what I mean? It's just I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm still waiting to see something that would really entice me.
The thing is, the big games that they've announced so far that would interest me, well, they're not even big games, I suppose. The one that interests me most is Stray, the one with that cat.
Yeah,
the cat going about with the robots and stuff.
Yeah.
I love the look of that. That looks like a really good game. I really want to play that. It's coming out on PS4 as well.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because it means I can actually get to play it. But I don't think there's been anything like PS5 exclusive, other than maybe Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank's the only one for me. That does look good, but not good enough to warrant buying a PS5 alert on its own, if you can even get one. So
I was going to say, even if you can get one, it's a bit of a stretch. At the moment, the only things on PS5 that make me think I really want that would be Ratchet and Clank and Astrobot.
Yeah,
and that's for £600 or however much it is. That's a big ask.
It's a big ask. Yeah, you're banking on there being more stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. And it's also been out for nearly a year now. The new consoles, haven't they? Is that right?
Yeah.
And they're still really hard to get, aren't they?
They're really hard to get. They really are hard to get. And I know they boast about the sales figures and everything, and they say it's been the most successful PlayStation launch ever and everything. It rings a bit hollow when half of them are sat in a lockup somewhere, don't they?
Exactly, yeah.
I've said it before, I know, I might sound like a broken record, but if people don't actually have the consoles to play, it's not really much of an accolade, is it?
No.
To say it's sold out.
Not really, no.
It's really frustrating. I know there's a serious semiconductor shortage worldwide at the moment, which is obviously going to impact their ability to keep production up. But yeah, it's ridiculously hard to get hold of them. The only console you can get at the moment easily is the Xbox Series S, the digital sort of halfway between the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X.
Yeah. Is that because no one wants it, or?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Because it's not just the digital only version; it's actually a dumbed down version of the X, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not as powerful. Yeah.
It's not as powerful. Yeah, it's a bit more powerful than the Xbox One X, but not as powerful as the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I said this before, but their naming conventions are absolutely atrocious.
It's terrible.
It's so bad.
You need like a spreadsheet to work out which one's which, don't you?
Oh, it's just daft. The only reason I would pick up an Xbox One S is, again, we've mentioned this before, I think it's fantastic for emulation, apparently.
Yes.
You can run PlayStation 1 games upscaled to 4K, apparently, which is really nice. Still don't have a 4K telly, so it's limited utility for me. But there's all sorts, apparently. So, if you're looking for an emulation box, you could probably do worse. But in terms of next gen, it's just, you got more chance of, I don't know, spouting horns.
Okay. Very good. Right. The other thing is Nintendo Direct. Happened a couple of days ago as the time of recording.
I did watch that.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too. I didn't stay up for it. I watched it the following morning. Yeah, the Mario movie. Lots of opinions about this, isn't there? Yeah. The Mario characters are all been assigned Hollywood actors, and Chris Pratt is Mario, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine it. I must be honest.
I can't imagine it. No.
But do you know what? I mean, we all said the Sonic movie was not going to work, and
True.
It did.
It did, yeah.
So you never know.
You never know, and again, we've said this. One thing we've always said about Nintendo is their quality control, especially these days, is really top notch. They don't let anything slip out unless it's really good quality.
No,
so...
and Miyamoto himself came on to Nintendo Direct and talked about it, and he said he's working with the studio to do it. So he's got to have something going for it, presumably.
Yeah. I'll reserve judgment until we see like a trailer or something.
Exactly. I think everyone's gone a bit too mental with it. I mean, I think it's, as I say, I can't imagine it, but you just need to wait and see what they're going to do with it, because it might do something really interesting. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, like going back to the Sonic movie, before you saw any trailers of it, before you saw any artwork of it, you just knew. When we just heard that they were doing a live-action Sonic film, I think most people's reaction was like, "Oh no, that's not a good idea. Exactly. You can't do it in live action." Yeah. And then Jim Carrey's going to be Dr. Robotnik, and you think, "Really?" Mm-hmm. But then when you see it, and it all kind of gels, it works.
They managed to make it work, and there's no telling what they can do, because they're pros. They know how to do these things,
Yeah.
So, I'd say leave it in their hands. Let's see what happens. Basically,
and the thing is, they still bear the mockery of the original Super Mario Brothers.
This is the thing;
movie.
They can't escape that original movie, can they?
No, so I just don't think they're going to make the same mistake twice.
You would hope not. No.
No, if they're going to go all out on a full theatrical movie, it's going to be. They're going to make sure it's good, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because Mario games don't usually have much of a story to them.
No.
I mean, they barely have any dialogue usually. So they're going to have to make quite a few changes to make that work as a movie. They couldn't just have Mario running around with the guy who normally voices him. Just making crazy sounds the whole way through, and just having things it wouldn't work as a movie. So
it might. I mean, they could go really avant-garde with it and make it really experimental.
They could do, but it's just Hollywood, so they're not going to, are they? Let's be honest. It might work as a little series of shorts and little cartoons and things, but as a movie, I think I can see why they would need to cast actual voice actors to do it. But then again, you look at things like WALL-E, and that for the first whole half of that movie, there's hardly any dialogue, is there?
No dialogue
it's just
at all, really. No
characters. So you never know, do you?
No, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I think I can't imagine Chris Pratt playing Mario, but. And I can't imagine. I'm struggling to imagine Jack Black playing Bowser. But...
I think that would actually work quite well. I can see that being quite entertaining.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Maybe
I reckon I'm gonna put my bet on it being good rather than bad. I think. I
think so. I think
everyone loves to be cynical about these things, but. Yeah, we got no reason to suspect it'll be anything other than entertaining, I think. So I look forward to the first trailer.
Yep, me too. Yeah. Other stuff in the Direct. Post-apocalyptic Kirby looked quite interesting. Yeah. I mean, it seems like an odd thing to do for Kirby, but I quite like the look. The game looks quite good.
It looks really nice, yeah.
I must admit, I haven't played hardly any Kirby, really.
I love Kirby.
Yeah, right. We should do one on the podcast.
Oh, we should, yeah.
But some of them tend to look a bit kind of crazy for me. I find a little bit off-putting some of them, but this one actually looks a little bit, sort of there's a Mario Odyssey element to it.
I was going to say it does look very Mario Odyssey.
It looks more like a sort of open world Kirby, perhaps. So it looks quite nice. Keep an eye on that one. N64 and Mega Drive games coming to the Switch Online thing.
Yeah, I'm a bit more cynical about this one.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's good that they're actually putting a lot more games on there.
Yeah.
Rather than the occasional... Originally, it was like 2 weeks. Here's 3 SNES games, most of which aren't particularly good. And then after a while, they stopped even doing that. There was a message saying, okay, we're not going to do that anymore, and we'll release them occasionally, and there's hardly anything coming. At least they've dumped a load of N64 Mega Drive games on there. But they've obviously done a little calculation, a little Nintendo calculation of what all these games are worth, and go, oh no, we've got to raise that price. It's not, we can't give them all these games for that. They've got to increase the price.
Nintendo, I think, have always had and continue to have a really inflated sense of how much their back catalogue is worth.
Yes, very much.
When the Nintendo Switch Online service was first announced, the idea that there would be a new NES ROM to play, which is essentially what it is, every month or every week or whatever it was, they really thought that was gonna be a big deal for people.
That was going to set the world alight, yeah.
That was going to be, get people excited. And it's like, how many different ways have people got to play Mario Brothers now?
Yeah.
It's not. It's just not an enticing prospect.
Okay.
And then to say, because people have been clamoring for more games on the Switch Online service, what people basically want is like a virtual console.
Yeah.
That's what people have been asking for.
They want everything and whatnot, hundreds of games at your fingertips, basically, with a reasonable charge.
Charge. But now they're saying, okay, we hear you. You can have some. You can have some N64 games, and we'll give you like 8 Mega Drive games as well.
Yeah.
And we'll take some extra money on top of that for that. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's going to cost you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're not going to tell you how much it's going to cost. We're just going to wait and see what the reaction is first before we announce the price.
Also, I can't imagine there's much more sort of server costs and things involved in that, because these games, even N64 games, are quite small, aren't they? File size-wise.
Yeah. I mean, for a company like Nintendo, the cost server-wise is negligible.
Exactly. So it's literally just, these games are worth more, so let's charge more, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that I saw a tweet from someone earlier just while I was preparing for this show, and someone said it's interesting that they appear to value Mega Drive games more than SNES games, essentially. They're more... Oh yeah, these are more premium. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. It is odd how they, the partnership with Sega, but I mean, I'm for it, but I mean, again, there's a Sega compilation cartridge. It's not a particular. The PlayStation 4 version isn't very good, or it wasn't very good when it came out. I don't know about the Switch version, but you can buy a cartridge today that has like 40, 50 games on it. If you're interested in Mega Drive games, wouldn't you have done that already?
Oh, you'd have all sorts of ways of getting them by now, either the Mega Drive Mini or all the various compilations.
The various compilations, but even on the Switch, I mean, the games are there. You can just go get them now.
Yeah, many of them are in the Ages selection as well.
They're in the Ages selection as well. So,
how many more ways do you need to play Mega Drive games? Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
It's always the same ones as well, isn't it? I think
It is always the same ones. I think it's the same ones on this as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Comic Zone and
all the usuals,
usual things.
Okay, and the controllers they came out with as well.
Yeah,
$50 or something for an N64, and same for a Mega Drive controller as well.
Yeah.
And the Japan version apparently has the 6-button one, and we have the 3-button one.
Seriously?
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
They did that with something else, didn't they? Was it the Mega Drive Mini that happened as well?
Oh, I don't know.
There was some Mega Drive thing where we got the 3-button controller and they got the 6-button controller again.
Oh, that's shifty.
So I don't know what that's about.
Oh, I don't like that.
No.
I mean, I welcome more games. Anything that gives us more games to play, I'm all in favour of. But, they've set the Nintendo Switch Online package already, and to just say, well, this is this is extra. You just have to pay. I know you've already paid, but this is a little bit more. It just gives a little bit more.
This is behind our gold door,
Yeah.
This is, it costs a little bit more, sorry.
And they're even calling it the expansion pack as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's a bit cheeky.
It is a bit.
It's a bit cheeky.
Yeah.
That they're not a company that's short of money. It's not like they're struggling way down behind Microsoft and Sony at the moment in sales terms. It just seems a bit of a cash grab, and
does a bit, but
I'll buy it though because I'm an idiot.
Because you need that one more way to play Sonic 2, don't you?
Yeah. That's the point. I bet Sonic Origins Collection or whatever it's called, I bet that's going to come out on Switch as well.
Oh yeah, I was hoping to see that in the thing because they're running out of time now to release that if they want to get it out for the 30th anniversary year.
I don't think it's coming out this year, is it?
You don't? Well, it doesn't look like it. No, they would have told us more about it by now, wouldn't they?
Yeah, there would have at least been like a trailer or something.
I hope that suggests that it's more than just a bunch of ROMs taped together. That they've actually put some effort into it.
I would hope so. I'll tell you what, actually, I was watching a video on YouTube today by a channel, The Geek Critique, and the guy does lots of Sonic reviews, retrospectives on the Sonic games.
Yeah.
And he uploaded one today or yesterday about Sonic Jam on the Saturn.
Yeah.
And he cited in there a interview that Yuji Naka did with some magazine or book or something. And apparently, Sonic wasn't very well known in Japan.
Yeah, that's always kind of been the case. He's one of
when Nights into Dreams came out, and it came at the little Sonic Team thing at the beginning, they got letters from people asking what's Sonic, what's Sonic Team, who's Sonic, and what's a Sonic Team, and that's
what's the Sonic Team,
yeah, like what's Sonic about? I don't know what's that got to do with Nights into Dreams. Who's Sonic? That seems really mind blowing to me. At that stage, by the time the Saturn's out, and there were people in Japan still unaware of Sonic.
Yeah, I mean the Mega Drive didn't sell tremendously well in Japan, and the Saturn actually kind of did. It was the only place where it was really successful. So I can see that it is fairly well documented that Sonic has never been that successful in Japan. Ironically, he's always been in the West. It's really big, and places like Brazil where it's ridiculously huge. But in Japan, never quite managed it for some reason. Which makes
really
the fact that they often get the most cool Sonic stuff all the more annoying.
Yeah,
because they don't even care about it. They get all the cool merch and everything. They don't even care. They don't want it. Why can't we have it? But that's another matter.
Yeah. But yeah, part of what he was saying there was, hoping that Origins Collection is more than just a bunch of ROMs, and they could really do something special and have like a museum type thing like they did with Sonic Jam.
Oh, yeah,
really do it special.
I remember being really excited about Sonic Jam and getting the demo and getting it. Me and my dad had trouble finding it. I think we went to Curry's or Comet, and it was like the last one there because the Saturn was getting less prolific in shops at that point. So, I loved it. I love the 3D world, Sonic World, I think it was called. It's the first sort of proper 3D Sonic thing. He's running around going to little museums. Absolutely love that. You can listen to all the music and watch all those incredible videos with like the various Japanese adverts and things. And you saw the Sonic CD intro and outro. It was amazing.
Yeah. I really hope that they do something like it, especially if it's meant to be a 30th celebration.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some gameplay tweaks, like being able to play as different characters in different levels you don't normally see. Maybe even little challenges, like hack the game a little bit to sort of set up little challenges, like get a certain number of rings and things like that.
Well, what we're all secretly hoping is they're going to be the Christian Whitehead versions, based on the Christian Whitehead versions at least, and adapted in some way. But Yeah, they're leaving it late to do anything if it's going to be this year, aren't they?
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah.
It's been a bad year for anniversaries in terms of games. I don't want to derail the show too much, but I think it's the 25th anniversary or 20th anniversary of Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And they've done nothing to celebrate it, really.
It's funny, some franchises do, like Sonic and Mario, they always, every 5 years, you get a load of tut that you got to buy. But some other franchises, usually the more mature ones, perhaps like Tomb Raider, they don't tend to do much, do they?
No, they could have just stuck a disc out with the 5 original PlayStation games. They all run on the same engine, basically. It's not like. I mean, there's even open source re-implementations of the engine now. There's like Open Lara, Open Tomb.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot. The work's been done. They could have just licensed it, whacked it on a disc, stuck it out the door. Tomb Raider collection, first 5 games, money in the bank. But they didn't.
Well, I mean, collections and sort of remakes and anything that brings back old games is still really popular now.
Yeah,
it's really in thing. So
yeah,
it seems silly. But before we move on, anything else in Nintendo Direct that took your fancy?
Probably.
We've got Splatoon 3. They went into a bit more detail on that.
I like Splatoon, but I want them to tell me personally.
Tips. Listen.
Yeah. Listen. We know that cheaters did your nut in on Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
And we've taken particular attention to address your concerns.
Yeah, your specific concerns, yeah.
This is how... It's not because you're crap at the game. That's not the problem. People are cheating. And we recognise that. And this is how we're going to stop it. That's what I want to hear about. I want to hear how they're going to stop the cheats.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll buy it because I like Splatoon.
Yes, it looks quite good.
It's a bit early to get excited about it because it's still like next year or something.
22, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. What else was there?
There was Bayonetta 3. Are you into the Bayonetta series?
No.
No, I'm not. I've tried both of them, and I just didn't have a clue what the hell was going on.
I tried the first one. I couldn't get into it. It's one of those games that I've meant to go back to because everyone raves about it
they
so
do.
much, and I think
it's
I must be missing
popular.
something.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I've tried both of them. Particularly the second one. Is you press buttons and all this crazy crap is going on the screen, and I've literally no idea if I'm doing good, if I'm doing bad, if the things I'm seeing are my moves, if they're the other person's moves, and it's a bit like bullet hell. It's just overload. It's too much going on. So I'll be giving it a miss, I think.
Yeah. I can say maybe we should try Bayonetta like the first one.
Maybe, yeah, we could do
a future show. We both tried it. We both thought it's not for me, so we could try it again, give it a second chance. But
yeah,
Bayonetta. What else was there? There was something else. Oh, Project. What's the triangle one?
The triangle one. I don't know.
It's like Octopath Traveler, but it's like a tactical RPG.
Oh, that
instead.
Yeah, I don't find that appealing at all, to be honest.
Oh.
Well, I like the art style, but this was on the previous Nintendo Direct as well. And as soon as they got into I think in the last one anyway, they started going into really a lot of detail and just explaining all the different tactics and things you can do, and I just was falling asleep. So I decided that one wasn't for me.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So you like the look of it, did you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I enjoyed Octopath Traveler.
Yeah.
So I haven't really got much experience with tactical RPGs like that. So I'd be willing to give it a go. I like what they did with Octopath. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't played Octopath, but I have actually played the demo, and that was a more traditional RPG, turn-based. I think it was.
Yeah.
And this one looks a lot more complicated. So I don't know. It's,
yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a day one purchase or anything, but no. I'll pick it up at some point, and yeah, I think that was that Kirby was the standout for me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, good old Kirby. It looks it's quite good, doesn't it?
It just looks like a really good fun game. So and again, I don't think there's many bad Kirby games. It's like Mario. You're going to get a fun game if you buy a Kirby game.
Okay, we need to do a Kirby in the book club at some point then.
We do definitely.
I think I played it a little bit, maybe one or two, but I need to properly sit down with one of them.
Yeah, Kirby's Epic Yarn is delightful. It's like a lovely. Lovely.
Good. Okay. Well, we've prattled on enough, haven't we, really? Should we...
Well, we had to make up for last month, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, our lack of games at the beginning.
Our drought of games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
let's move on.
Okay, so Lemmings. Lemmings. Well, not just one Lemmings, 3 Lemmings actually.
Lemmings thrice.
Thrice Lemmings to talk about in the Pod Up Book Club right now.
The Video Game Book Club.
Welcome back. Today we are talking about 3 Lemmings games. First of all, Lemmings, the original. So,
Let's go!
well, that's a nice impression. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Developed by DMA Design, published by Psygnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Famous developers of Body Harvest.
Yeah. Was that little series that you don't hear much of? You know, the one where you go around shooting people and driving cars, and you know that thing, isn't it? What's that called? Grand something? Yeah.
Granny automatic granny or something.
Yeah,
I
something
don't know.
like that thing. Yeah.
That's rubbish.
Yeah.
DMA Design.
Yeah. Also made Walker, which we did in our first episode of this year, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't squib over an episode that one, I'm afraid, but
it's all right, isn't it? All right.
I determined to make sure the Amiga got a proper representation, at least. So here we go.
Yes. So as you say, this was first released for the Amiga in February '91. Later ported to 27 different systems, all in the early 90s. They really went mental here, didn't they? Basically, think of a system that was around in the early 90s and had literally any obscure thing that you can think of, and it's got a version of Lemmings on it.
It was on everything.
I can read out the list if you want.
Do it.
Okay, here we go. MS-DOS, Classic Mac OS, Atari ST, ZX Spectrum, Amiga CD-TV, Acorn Archimedes, PC-98, FM Towns, Sharp X6 8000, Apple IIGS, the SNES, TurboGrafx CD, Mega Drive, Game Gear, Amstrad CPC, Master System, NES, Commodore 64, 3DO, Atari Lynx, Sam Coupe, Game Boy, Philips CDI, Amiga CD32, Windows, PlayStation, and J2ME. Whew. Yeah, on
that's
everything. That's on everything.
It is on everything.
It is. That's probably one of the most prolific games around, I should think, isn't it?
I was going to say, I think probably only Tetris is on more systems, to be honest. But yeah.
Sonic 1's probably given.
Yeah,
it's on a lot of things by now as well. I bet, but it's on. Yeah, but interestingly, it stops there. So the original version has never been on a compilation or anything since then, interestingly.
I imagine it's a licensing thing, because I knew Sony did have the license for it, but I don't know what's happened since then. As we'll talk about the mobile version.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But I didn't see any Sony branding or any Sony copyright or anything on the mobile version, unless I missed it. So I don't know if...
Well, when I looked up the details, it did say it was published by them.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
So yeah, I don't remember seeing any branding on it either, but apparently it was published by them. So I assume they still got it.
They must still have the license. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you probably know what Lemmings is about, even if you've never played it. But the basic idea is some little lemmings, little green-haired, tiny little characters. I think they're sort of done in 8x8 pixel things, so they're really, really tiny, a bit like the original Worms. So you got to guide them. A load of them start falling from the sky. You've got to guide them from one end of a 2D terrain to the other. by assigning them various abilities such as digging, tunneling, climbing, blocking other lemmings from falling off an edge, producing steps to climb up, floating on little tiny umbrellas, things like that, basically. It's a simple concept, but it's a puzzle game, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a puzzle game. So you've got, on any given stage, you will have allotted a certain number of different tasks that you can assign to the lemmings. So, like, the first level is just dig, and literally the only task you can assign the lemming is to dig. And so your lemmings are separated in a little cavern. The exit's down below, so you assign a digger, and it'll dig a little hole down so they can all get to the exit. And so in different levels, you might have 3 builders, 2 diggers, a miner who can go diagonally down, and you've got to work a way to save a certain percentage of the lemmings. So you'll get like 100 lemmings come out, and you'll have to save 50% to pass the level, and you have to work your way around the obstacles, make a path to the exit, and get there, and save that number of lemmings in order to progress. So yeah, it's a puzzle game of working out how to not only get from point A to point B, but how to get there and save the requisite amount of lemmings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very simple idea, but in practice it can be quite infuriating.
I was gonna say, I have a lot of respect for the game. I can see why people like it, but I gotta say the way it sort of pans out didn't really gel with me. I didn't have a great time.
Oh no!
Really?
With these games in general, really.
Oh.
And it's, as I say, I don't know what, I think it's me. It's me more than them, I think. Me more than the gameplay idea. It's a very computer game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a traditional mouse-driven game. I come from much more of a console background, sort of an action game thing. Whenever I have played computer game things like Worms and Theme Park and Hospital, I always cheat in them because I don't find the basic the way the gameplay is structured without cheats. I don't often enjoy it. I like to just mess around and just use the cheats and just do what I want in there. And although I didn't do that on this occasion, I can see something similar in that. I didn't want. I found it quite frustrating to be restricted and for things to not work as I hoped, and things like that fall. Whenever they failed and they've started falling off and they all started falling down, and and the thing is, as you get on past the first few tutorial levels, and I think the tutorial levels do a good job of explaining everything, how they all work. Once you start getting into things where you've got to mix up the abilities, and okay, you've got to get them down this bit, start digging here, and then they've got to start building bridges over here. The more steps are involved, the more frustrating it gets when they start failing at a certain point in there, and then you've got to go back and do the whole thing again. Yeah. And I just, at least at this time in my life, I found I don't have a lot of patience for that sort of thing.
Which version did you play? Did you play the Amiga one?
I did, yeah. I managed to get, similar to Walker actually, there's, I think it's called thecompany.com or something like that, but they make like standalone versions of the Amiga games. Luckily they had a Lemmings, like a single thing with Lemmings 1, 2 and one of the other ones. And so I used that and that worked really well. I also did try briefly the Mega Drive version. But so yeah, I had the original.
The Mega Drive version is probably a little bit easier because you can pause the game and continue to assign tasks and things, which you can't do on the Amiga.
I quite liked how that worked, especially as I happened to be using an Xbox 360 controller with obviously a thumbstick because I was emulating it. So that added to its enjoyment, because it was easier to use.
Yeah. I think it's necessary because, like you say, it is a very computer game, and I think certainly because there's the difficulty levels, you get a fun, tricky, relaxing, and mayhem. Mm-hmm. If you were trying to do the mayhem levels without that ability to pause it and take stock of things, using a control pad would be absolutely torturous, I think.
I mean, it's all. I mean, I can only imagine how difficult it can be to see those lemmings on like an old CRT, like a little thing. I don't know if they show up that well. I mean, I guess they show it well enough because they designed it for that originally. But
I was going to say, I mean, that's how I played it most of the time.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Because I started playing. Obviously, my first experience was with my uncle's Amiga.
Yeah.
But I was desperate to have, a copy of it to play at home, and I didn't have an Amiga at home. So they brought out a Commodore 64 version, as you mentioned, in the Great List, but it was as good as a Commodore 64 version could be, but it wasn't really what I wanted. And when the Mega Drive version came out, I pestered and pestered and pestered to get it. And I eventually got it for Christmas one year, and that was from that moment on, that's what I played. That was my Lemmings for the longest time. But the Amiga one is, the one closest to my heart, I think, because of the that lovely music.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, wow. I can see the things you find frustrating, I think, are the things I find quite enjoyable about it. I find that it's funny how you can, we both came away with different.
Well,
opinions on that.
There were definitely at least a couple of levels where it was just the right amount, so you sort of would progress, and then you start to fail, and then you think, oh, I did that wrong, maybe if I tried this way, and then they managed to do that, but then they fail somewhere else, and you think, oh, okay, and it's gradually sort of honing it down through trial and error, the process. I can definitely see how people would like that, and I did enjoy that a couple of times, but other times I just found it a bit too frustrating. I don't know.
I think it's got that lovely puzzle game thing where you'll be banging your head against a wall and you really get into your wits' end with it, and then suddenly something will click and it's it all makes sense. You go, of course. And that moment of sudden understanding, it just makes it all worth it then, I think.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah,
there have been times where I've really lost my rag at it, and I've had to turn it off for a bit. But for the most time, I find it more fun than frustrating.
Yeah, there's elements of the interface and the way you do things that I found quite frustrating. Like, it's quite difficult to click on lemmings sometimes when they're moving about. You get them; it's quite difficult to time it at just the right moment, because if say they're walking towards a wall and you want them to bash through it, if you get the timing just wrong and they sort of walk towards the wall and then they've hit the wall and they turn back, then they'll start doing it in the other direction, which you don't want. So there was things like that I found a bit frustrating. That I thought, it's coming to it 30 years later. If you would do that now, you might think, okay, that's a bit frustrating. I might program it a bit differently. Little things like that kind of got on my nerves a bit. And also when they're in a large group. I don't know how you would solve this, to be fair, but when they're in a large group in a small area, and all their pixels fill the whole thing, and you can't make out a single lemming, and you click on them to do things, and you can't see if they're doing it or not. So say build a bridge or whatever, you can't see if one's doing it or not if you're actually clicking on them successfully. But yeah, I can see why people like it. I can see the brilliance shining through a little bit. It's just not my kind of thing, I suppose. I mean, if I were to be like the idea and the core gameplay, the ethos of the game, I don't have a problem with. I think it's just its implementation like that. I think they could do things to improve it and make it slightly shorter levels, smaller doses. I could get behind some way. I don't know. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's just not for you. Yeah, not really. I think it's more just the way it's done that isn't quite for me. I think there's a good core idea there that I would do differently if I were making the game myself. I didn't want to bring things down,
No,
because as I say, I do. It's not like a thing. It's just I hated the game. I thought it was rubbish, because I don't. I think it's not for me, basically.
Yeah. It's not that you think the Mona Lisa smile is terrible, but if you were to paint it, you'd have probably just painted it a little bit different.
Exactly that. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
No. It's good. I understand what you mean. It's Oh.
Sorry about this. I feel terrible. This happens sometimes in Podemup where...
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I feel a little bit guilty about, like, trampling on, like, a favourite game of yours.
No, I don't think it wouldn't be a very entertaining show if we were just all in on everything all the time.
Yeah, no.
It's all about... Yeah, it's all about the contrasting opinions, but...
Yeah. Okay, so, well, you tell us some of the other things you like about it.
Just
and I'll chime in.
I just like it.
You just like it.
It's just a good one.
You mentioned the soundtrack.
I love the soundtrack.
Yeah,
the soundtrack is superb. Yeah, I just love it. A lot of the soundtrack is sort of remixed of classical tunes.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote here. This is from javalemmings.com. There's a great five-part blog of one of the developers, how the game was created and the story behind it, and little anecdotes about how the game was created. I'd recommend looking it up on the Wayback Machine rather than going to the website directly, because a lot of the images are broken now. So on the Wayback Machine, they might still be there. But he was saying the music and particularly the sound effects have to get a mention. So crucial they were to the game. Both were created by Brian Johnson, and the reason the tunes were, well, basic was to avoid any copyright problems. This was around a time when the games first started to worry about such things, whereas before they would have just happily ripped them off, but not now. That's why we're stuck with such timeless tunes as How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?
It is true, isn't it? There's that old, is it one of the Shinobi games that has like Spider-Man and Batman
Spider-Man,
and the Terminator
Godzilla.
in it? They just chucked them in. They genuinely didn't see a problem with just throwing in these established characters that are all copyrighted to the ends of the earth. Yeah, just chuck them in.
Just put Spider-Man in it.
Marvel aren't looking at this game. Don't worry about it. Just chuck them in. Yeah.
Stick Godzilla in there. Why not?
It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
It also says that the sound effects were superb and deserve a special mention since the game wouldn't have been the same without them. Scott's mum, I believe, was the first voice of the Lemmings.
Oh, Scott's mum. I love that they got his mum in. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I love that. You know, little team of developers. We need someone to get your mum on the phone. She can do the Lemming voice, can't she? yeah, she'll do it.
Yeah,
I love it. It's great.
What I would say is there's a load of character in those little guys for something that is
really
made up of only a few pixels. It is really impressive what they managed to do with it. Just also in the voice, in their little voices, but also just in their little gestures and things.
Yeah,
there's a lot of charm there, definitely.
Yeah, there is. There's so much character in them, especially we haven't mentioned one of the tasks that you can assign to them is being a blocker, where they'll put their hands out and they'll stop the lemmings from going past them. They'll sort of tell them to go in the other direction. You can't release the blocker after you've made him a blocker. The only way you can do it is by turning him into a bomber, which he blows himself up.
Yeah.
And you feel so sorry for the little guy. He goes, oh no, puts his hands on his head and shakes his head and poof, he's gone. It's
quite violent, isn't it? If you imagine just getting like a traffic control guy just out in the streets, and instead of just going up to him and saying, right, we don't need you anymore, thanks, just go back home. You say, just hand him a bomb and say, right, thanks for our hard work. Off you go.
Yeah. Just spontaneously
pretty harsh.
Busting lollipop ladies.
Yeah. I'm sure he could have been saved. All he was doing was just standing there telling people not to go there.
He was just doing his job. He just didn't want people to go there. He didn't ask for this. But yeah, what I did actually, when I was a kid and I was playing it, I did occasionally put the rate of lemmings right up to 100 because you can control the speed that they come onto the level.
That's right.
So I'd whack it right up to 100, put a couple of blockers so they're all in a line, and then nuke the level so they all blow up at once, and you get like a nice sort of fireworks display of lemming entrails.
It's really impressive, actually, all the little particles going off and everything.
Yeah.
And, the Amiga handles it absolutely smoothly. So I did like that, yeah.
But yeah, I love the atmosphere of the game as well. I think the music, I really love the music in it. It's such an integral part of the game for me that there's ports of the game. Like there's a port for the it's not a port, but like a version of the game for PlayStation Portable and PS2. I can't really play them because of the music. It's not the music I'm expecting to hear, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like someone releasing Sonic 1 with like a completely different soundtrack. It just changes the game.
I have that with Crazy Taxi. Because only the original versions of Crazy Taxi have that Offspring music.
Have the Offspring music,
and every other version just feels wrong without it. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's very important.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's so integral to my enjoyment of the game, I think, you know, and I think it's one of the first games that really made me realise, not consciously at the time, but looking back on it, you know, how important all the aspects of a game are when they all gel together. You know, the music and the, you know, the like I say, the atmosphere of the game. There's a couple of levels on there on the Amiga version, and some of them are carried over to various ports as well. But they're kind of homages and Easter egg to other DMA design games like Shadow of the Beast.
Yeah.
So there's a level based on Shadow of the Beast, and it's like a dark forest, and it uses some Shadow of the Beast music. It used to freak me out when I was a kid. I really wanted that level to finish just because of the music I found so eerie and creepy and the atmosphere. And I always wanted to get past that level quickly. I did not like it at all. And when you think, you know, it's a game about little lemmings going about, and the fact that, you know, the combination of everything can actually make me feel like, oh no, I find this eerie.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, you know, the power music can have on a game.
Oh yeah. Whenever someone says, you know, they play a game without listening to their own music, you know, they don't have that. I could never do that. You have to, it's a crime to me. You have to listen. Whatever the game is, you have to have its soundtrack playing.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with that. Yeah, I know. I got nothing but good memories with Lemmings.
My wife Abby is a big fan of Lemmings. She particularly wanted me to point out Christmas Lemmings. That was she enjoyed.
Yeah, and that comes back interestingly to what we talked about earlier, Nights into Dreams. Christmas Lemmings was the inspiration for Christmas Nights.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Yuji Naka, apparently he saw Christmas Lemmings and thought, that's a really good idea.
We could do that, yeah.
Let's do that.
I think more games should do that, actually. Just have a little Christmas version. Yeah, because there aren't enough Christmas games in general, really, are there? For some reason.
No, there's not really. No. But no, there was a few add-on packs, really. There was, you know, Christmas Lemmings, Oh No More Lemmings, and, you know, I think there was a few, like, level packs on the cover discs for like Amiga format or Amiga Power and things like that. So yeah, there's plenty more to get your teeth stuck into if you like the original Lemmings.
I totally appreciate it as a game. I didn't want to play it, basically. Is to be harsh about it. I was, like I say, some levels I did quite enjoy, but other ones I got to a point where I kept getting stuck and I couldn't figure out how to do it, and I just thought, I don't really want to play this. So I did the minimum just to understand how it all works, kind of. But yeah,
that's the podemup way.
It's the podemup way. Do the bare minimum. Yeah.
Move on briefly then to do let's do a compare and contrast.
Yeah.
What did you think of Lemmings 2? Because Lemmings 2 takes a very different approach to things.
Well, yes, it does. I liked it less. I will say that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the approach it takes is to give you many, many more tasks and things that you can assign the lemmings to do.
Yeah.
I think 51 in total, I read.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And you don't get them all in one level. You get a certain number. Each level, they sort of customize it, which is quite a fair idea to add some variety, but they customize each level with certain abilities. But I found that there's a lot to get used to with those. Like, you would see the abilities and go, oh, what's that? How does that work? So there's a lot of experimentation involved. Much less hand-holding in this one. They just sort of drop you in it much more, I think, don't they?
Yeah.
But I did like the fact that you could play different levels at the same time. Like, if you go to the map thing, you get, I think they're in 12 different tribes, hence the title Lemmings to the Tribes.
The Tribes, yeah.
And you can choose, they've got their own sets of levels, and you can choose different starting. I think there's like 10 levels for each of those, as far as I read. And then you can progress through them, at the same time. So if you're stuck on one, you can always just switch to another one and play that. That was a good idea. But I don't know, I just found that a bit overwhelming. Given that I didn't get on with the first one when it was, in a more basic form, I just thought this was just a bit overkill and a bit too much.
No, I would agree with you. I did get on with the first one, as we established, a big fan of it, but I never got on with Lemmings 2.
I can see why. Yeah.
I think we've talked before about what makes a good sequel. What defines something as a perfect sequel, and usually it's kind of iterating on what worked before and just take it, just polishing off the rough edges, maybe adding a few things you didn't get to add in the first one, and just refining everything a little bit. Lemmings 2 doesn't really feel like that. It feels kind of like they've just, like you say, just overwhelming and overkill. They've just thrown everything in there. And I don't think it works. No.
I mean, if you compare it to, say, Worms, like Worms 1 and Worms 2, visually they look completely different, but the core gameplay is the same, really. They may have added a few new weapons and things, but it's much more like you were saying. It's just improving things. It's just seeing what we can do with the gameplay to tweak it a little bit, but just to keep the same core thing alive and just don't change it too much.
Yeah.
And you would think on paper that adding more abilities would do the same thing. It would be like adding more weapons in Worms, but the way they've done it, just to give you loads of them. And then just have different ones per level. It does change what you would think would be a slight change. Actually, has a lot of repercussions on how you approach it. I think, from what I could see, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of like Lemmings, I think, worked because of the simplicity. You've got the basic, ability that you can assign the lemmings. You've got a handful of them, and it all makes sense, and all the levels are built around those abilities. You know how they work in a consistent way.
Yeah.
And it all feels, when the level works and you get the solution, you feel like, okay, that's how it was intended to be. I see what the person who made the level, I see what they're going for there. I've cracked it. I've solved puzzle on that.
Yeah.
Lemmings 2 feels very chaotic to me.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Like there's an ability where the lemming will sort of dig into the ground, but then you have to you get a fan item, and you hold the fan, and it will sort of blow the lemming around, and it doesn't feel very. The fan seemed like a weird addition. It seems like something they just thrown in as an afterthought. Yeah.
You can, if you got like flying ones, you can manipulate them where they're going.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just changes the whole core idea of the gameplay. I think you're not really supposed to control the lemmings that specifically.
Exactly. It kind of makes me feel like, when I've completed a level doing something like that, have I really done it, or have I just kind of brute forced it? Because I don't really get that feeling like I've cracked a puzzle that was being presented. I feel like I've just managed to
find a workaround to it.
Yeah, I've just brute forced it by blowing a lemon up in the air or something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think they've thought about it too much.
Yeah.
I think they've thought about all the features they can add and all the different things. Oh, it wouldn't be cool if they had this ability and this ability. And the fact there's 51 of them, see, it just on just saying it like that just sounds compared to how many were it, like 8 before in the first one?
Yeah, like 7 or 8. Yeah.
So it
just seems like they've had a brainstorming session, and everything that went up on the whiteboard, they've just done.
Yeah. They haven't pick things out and everything.
Yeah. It's a strange one. The music is still great, I would say.
Yeah, I like the music a lot. Yeah.
And I like the idea of the tribes. I think that there's like the Lemmings tribes. You'll get like the Highland tribes and the like the sports and Egyptian and medieval and so there's all these little characters, gives them a little bit more character for each of the different tribes and things, and the layouts and the level theming and stuff all works, and all that kind of idea is fine enough. But I think it's a testament to not going overboard with the sequel. Just because something seems like a good idea on paper doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work in game. And I think probably a little bit of restraint would have worked better, I think.
Yeah.
They kind of went back to it. I didn't add this on because I thought we'd already have enough to play, but there's a third game on the Amiga, the All New World of Lemmings.
Oh, right.
They kind of went back to basics on that one a bit. It's not the same mechanics as the first one. There's some changes to the gameplay, but it's a lot more stripped back compared to Lemmings 2. So
they obviously thought the same.
I'm going to say I think they probably thought the same, in the cold light of day. That yeah,
I can see how it would happen though. All their ideas for Lemmings 2, I think they just, especially given how successful it was and how many things it was ported to, and reading about it, it was very well reviewed and everyone loved it. So I can see why they probably felt the pressure of it's like the difficult second album. As you make a new one and make people excited about it and make it not seem like there was just the same thing. I can totally see how they fell into that trap, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's just a really interesting, like I say, a really interesting example of taking an approach to a sequel that I personally think was probably the wrong approach to take, but yeah, I think it's just an interesting way to look at a sequel that didn't really, because a lot of the sequels we've looked at on the show have always been quite good. I think they've always improved on what's come before, and I don't think Lemmings 2 is necessarily a bad game.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a worthy successor to the original Lemmings. I would say.
I agree with that. Just to note, it was released for a lot fewer systems as well. It came out for the Amiga originally, but it was also on the Atari ST, MS-DOS, Mega Drive, Super NES, Game Boy, Acorn Archimedes, and FM Towns. So a much shorter list there for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it was it less well reviewed? I don't know. I didn't have that information to hand.
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't remember it at the time. That's an interesting thing, actually. I don't know. Let's have a quick look. Lemmings 2 for me and you. Lemmings 2. Here we go. Not quite as popular as the Lemmings, but nor was it ported to many. I'm just reading Wikipedia here. This is what we call the YouTube approach.
This is basically what I've done with all my notes, basically. So, yeah.
don't let the cat out of the bag. Game was well received by critics, who widely considered it to be better than the original.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting.
It's all. I don't know. Maybe they were just so immersed in the world of Lemmings at that point that it was just exciting to get all these new things. I don't know.
Maybe. I can't say.
That is interesting that it was well received, and they didn't then port it to everything else. Maybe.
No, I think that would be. That's very telling.
I didn't actually know when this game came out. What year did it come out?
1993.
93. Okay, so I don't know if things radically changed in that time on sort of Amiga games and computer games. I don't know.
I think it was towards the end of it was sort of late in the life of particularly the Amiga 500.
Yeah.
I mean the 1200. I mean people still use the 1200 today. So, but the Amiga 500 was in its later years by that point. I think. So.
Actually, to be fair, possibly fewer of those systems were around at that point anyway. by 93. You know, a lot of the sort of obscure computers that we listed in the first one, maybe they weren't around. I don't know, but maybe they weren't around.
No, that's true, but yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Lemmings Mobile?
Lemmings Mobile.
Okay, so this is developed by Sad Puppy Limited, whoever they are, and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, apparently. And this is on iOS and Android, released in 2018. As with everything these days, it's free and with in-app purchases.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a shame, just on a side note, it is a shame what happened to mobile games in general, isn't it?
I know.
Because I quite enjoyed when Apple, you know, started becoming big with the iPhone and the iPad. I did quite enjoy games on them at that point because they were just like these little the experiences you didn't really get on consoles and things, weren't they? They're just sort of little games.
I mean, even going back further than that, I remember the first camera phone I got way back when. It was a Sharp something. It had Java game downloads on there, and one of the first ones I got was like a little Java version of Bubble Bobble, and I thought I just loved that idea that you could just get these tiny little portable versions of games. You weren't just limited to Snake and whatever games came on the phone. I thought it was a lovely idea, and then the iPhone and iPad and stuff opened up so much more, power for games to use. Oh,
it took off massively, didn't it? And
yeah.
You just got these lovely little ideas, very, very quick, because of the nature of it being sort of mobile. You only got a few minutes to play, so they were very sort of quick, sort of arcadey almost experiences.
Yeah.
Just sort of chipping away at something, getting through levels slowly. That was really nice, but then they ruined it all by doing in-app purchases, which completely changed the landscape of mobile games forever and turned them into like glorified gambling things, really, didn't they? Things that aren't even really games; they're just sort of designed to be addictive. Things to just consume people. And
there are, I'm not talking particularly about Lemmings here, but there are games out there that. Like you say, they're so psychologically manipulative. They're designed to make you addicted.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
It is compared to on consoles and things. You feel generally you get a game that wants to be a game, that it wants to be an experience. If you're addicted to it or not, it doesn't really matter. It's a thing that you enjoy. Whereas this is just designed to try and suck money out of people.
Yeah.
And it's appalling to watch, really, isn't it? But I mean,
it is, and I know people are going to say, "Oh well, but companies exist to make money, they exist to make money." But I think I'm gonna misquote him, but the essence of the point is true. Walt Disney once said that they don't make film to make money; they make money to make more films.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Making money is the side effect. You make a good game, and making money is the side effect of that, and you use that money to make more games. Money isn't the driving force; it's the creativity, and money comes afterwards, basically.
Exactly.
And modern mobile games have turned that on its head. The objective is to suck as much money as possible out of the player, and if there's a good game buried underneath all that, then so much the better. But that's the driving force, the motivation is money, and I think that's really kind of gross.
Yes, it is. So that takes us into Lemmings Mobile. Well, see, here's the thing. Let's just talk about the actual gameplay before we go into anything else, because I don't necessarily think it's better, but there are certain mechanics that I preferred as ideas. For example, rather than trying to click on individual lemmings, you click on it's based on blocks. So the whole level takes place in one screen, and it's divided into a sort of a grid, and there's different blocks. Some of them might be terrain, and others might be just space. And you can tap on the blocks, and you could say, okay, this is where the lemmings stop, or this is where lemmings dig, or this is where they float down. And then any lemming that comes into contact with that space will do that action. And as a mechanic, I found that much simpler to use. And I did quite like it. I didn't really like in the original how you have to keep tapping on them to make them all umbrellas, otherwise they'll just fall. So I liked, as a complete newbie to Lemmings coming to this, I appreciated that idea better.
I didn't like it as in a mechanic in general. I kind of view it as it's a good compromise to work with a touchscreen. I think
it's a logical sort of thing for the environment that is being played in.
I mean, I would prefer, if there is such a thing as a Lemmings purist, I would prefer a pure Lemmings experience, but I can imagine it being a nightmare to play on a touchscreen.
There are certain games that don't translate well.
It just would not
not even in the interface, but just the screen size on a phone anyway. The screen size,
when you got that many lemmings going about and trying to pick an individual one, with big fat fingers,
exactly.
It's not going to work.
The finger is much less precise than the mouse pointer, so it would fall down in that aspect.
I love the art style. I love the way the lemmings look. I think it's a really nice modern take on the lemmings. Yeah. I would love to see, if there's another Lemmings game on consoles, I would love to see that artwork carried over. I think it's very friendly, very, very eye-catching. It's just really nice. I think that's about as much positive as I've got to say about it, really. And the reason I say that, I took a screenshot, which I obviously can't show you, but after you do a few tutorial levels, and it explains quite nicely what you need to do and how to play it. The minute I finished the tutorial things, I got a thing pop up on the screen. It says, reward rocket. Stage 1, 0 of 3 levels completed. Stage 1 reward, uncommon egg, ×1. Complete 3 levels. Stage 2, tribal egg, and it's a multicolored egg. Complete 10 levels. Stage 3, vintage egg. Complete 20 levels. Complete stages and receive bonus awards when you log back on tomorrow. 30 minutes and 29 seconds remaining. Why is
Sorry,
this?
what? Remaining until what?
I don't know.
Yes, until it stops you from playing it, because there is...
Presumably.
I didn't play a lot of this, but I read up a little bit on it, and it does. I think there's a limit for how much you can play before you have to pay. And then obviously there's a timer counting down. You can play again, I guess.
It's so obnoxious.
Yeah, and the amount of app crap, I would call it, that surrounds it. All these, as you say, all these rockets, all these eggs, all these
eggs, and
these missions, all these seasons, whatever season is. It's overloading, really. I mean, it's a bit like Lemmings 2 in a way. It's just too much.
Just too much going on. Yeah. Lemmings are mammals. They don't lay eggs. Where are the eggs coming from?
Yeah, that's a good point. Why are they hatching from eggs? Yeah.
It's the least of the problems with the game, I admit. But it's just so. There's nothing. I find everything about it offensive.
Yeah.
It's just so bad.
Yeah. It is. I mean, the gameplay itself is pretty dumbed down compared to the original. I mean, the block things I said. I think you've only got really those 3 options, isn't it? It's like dig, stop, and float. And I mean, I think there's like hundreds and hundreds of levels, but I didn't get very far with them. But the ones I played were very basic.
They're very basic. I didn't play that much.
The steps as well to get up higher, but it's as I say, some of the ideas of how they implement them are fairly good, but it's it's almost too far the opposite way. My criticism of the first game was that the levels take too long, and I got frustrated with them. But this is almost too far the opposite. It's too simplistic. There's not, there's no challenge. It is one of those things. What we're saying is just designed to keep you addicted to it.
It is. I'm just looking. Oh God, it's so awful. Right. So in the app itself, I've got it open at the moment. Right. There's a store thing at the bottom. You go into the store.
Yeah.
You can activate VIP mode if you want. Play without limits for 2 hours.
Play without limits for 2 hours. What a luxury to have in a game.
That's. If I'm reading that right, play without limits, and it says underneath 2 hours unlimited energy. Yeah. I assume that's £5.49.
That is shocking. That is absolutely shocking. So I believe the energy, whenever you use a move, it consumes energy. You got a bar, and when you run out, you can't play anymore. Until you presumably either wait a certain period of time or you spend £5.49 or whatever you just said on
£5.49. That was a 2-day rental at Blockbuster back in the day.
Oh, it's just shocking. And these games, they just rely. They know that most users won't pay that, but they also know that some will.
Some people will. Yeah.
Have you heard this term, whales?
Whales, yeah.
Of these people who are just happy to spend, hundreds of pounds on a single game. By just getting these things, and it's shocking really. They just try and catch these whales who just obviously don't have much, willpower basically. It's a bit like gambling really, isn't it? It's possibly people who are not capable of making these decisions and being consumed by these things.
Yeah, that's the thing. And, I'm as bad with money as the next guy, but there's some people who really, they can't,
yeah, basically they shouldn't be.
It's a psychological thing. Yeah, there's people who just get addicted to it.
Yeah, and essentially shouldn't be allowed to manage their own bank account in a, not to sound cruel, but they literally shouldn't. And it's taking advantage of those people. It's just not on, basically.
No, I'm just scrolling down here. I don't even know what half this stuff is. So at the top of the screen, I've got 0 of 5 golden tickets. I don't know what these ticket things are.
Yeah.
There's also coins, and I can buy So I can buy eggs. I can buy an epic egg. Oh, this is mental. So I'm working this out right. So I can buy the eggs with coins.
Yeah.
I have to buy the coins first.
With real money or some other currency?
No, with real money.
Yeah.
So a bag of 25,000 gold. That's the most popular one, apparently. That's £15.49. So that'll give you 25,000 gold.
Yeah.
Then you can buy special lemmings. So you could buy eggs. A legendary egg is 1,800 coins. I've done tax returns that are more invested in this. This is crazy.
Oh dear, it's just.
This is crazy. If say in an alternate universe, this was the Lemmings that came out first, no one would care what Lemmings was.
No, of
20
course
years
not.
later.
It would go under the radar completely. You wouldn't even.
It's just so bad. Has anyone ever in the history of human civilization played Lemmings and thought, this would be so much better if I had to pay a £5 for every couple of hours?
Yeah.
It's good.
I know.
But I'd love it if I could just pay a bit more money.
If I could just keep paying to play, that would be perfect. Yeah.
That'd be great.
No.
It's just obnoxious. I think I just wanted to use it as an example, really, of how the worst excesses of modern, particularly mobile game design, really, and applied to such a beloved franchise.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just tragic.
I stopped playing mobile games a long time ago, but I'm aware of some of these practices, and this is, of all the games I've looked at, mobile games, this is probably the worst one to do these things. I mean, the prices of those things, it's not like 5p or whatever. It's just. It's pounds.
It's pounds, yeah.
Pounds to keep playing a game.
Progression booster bundle. Get extra eggs, £7.50. Or you can get an excellent offer. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is great. Excellent offer includes a guaranteed non-duplicate egg. So if you're buying the eggs, you can get bloody duplicates.
Oh, God. So it's like a blind box thing, basically.
Yeah.
So you got to spend money.
Spend money on virtual eggs, and you might even get double eggs.
It's like a parody, isn't it? A parody of a game, or a parody of a...
It is. It's boosters, double lemmings. Apply this booster to get double lemmings after completing the level. Why do you want more lemmings? The level should be designed with a certain number of lemmings in mind, surely.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But...
Oh my word!
Yeah.
Oh, it's making me. For 200 coins, you can turn off the traps.
Yeah, in case you're finding it too difficult, too much, just turn off the traps.
Just turn off the traps.
Literally make them just walk from A to B. Level done.
You know that mode in Mario where you could the computer will complete the level for you if you get stuck too many times.
Yeah.
Imagine if Nintendo did that. Are you stuck? Sling us a couple of quid and we'll do the level for you.
Yeah. Just this once, we'll do the level for you.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do it again? All right, go on then. Yeah.
A couple of quid.
Couple
come
of
on.
quid. I know.
It's just obnoxious.
Oh,
but
the idea that a game just keeps asking you for money as well. I mean, I know there's DLC, but I think that's a little bit different. It's just to play the game that you should be playing just sort of in a linear fashion, that's going to cost you a few more pounds, that's going to cost you a few more pounds.
That's the thing. I mean, what would be wrong? Well, I mean, I know what would be wrong. It'd make less money. But what would be wrong with the idea of, do a port of Lemmings with the new control mechanism, like we said.
Yeah.
Charge $7.99 for it. Bunch of levels, and then every now and then you could, every year or so, do a DLC pack for $5, and you get 100 extra levels.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah, I know, but that's the way mobile games used to work before free to play happened, and then it was just like a race to the bottom, wasn't it? How cheap can you make your game, and then just bung a load of extra hidden in-app purchases in, and then eventually they all just became free. Everything's free, you pay. And they just then it wasn't just buying packs of content. It was just how many more interesting ways can we get to get money out of people in the most ridiculous, unscrupulous ways. And it's
it's unacceptable. And I think it's particularly just because Lemmings, is a game that has a lot of good memories attached to it for me.
Yes, to take advantage of a much-loved franchise in that way, basically, is the real kicker, isn't it?
It's the real kicker, yeah. It's what could have been. I would have loved to see Lemmings on a mobile platform for a new generation to enjoy, and it could have been so good. And what they've done with it is it's just mind-boggling. I don't even, like I say, I don't even understand half of it with the eggs and the tickets and the coins.
I feel like it started out with maybe just coins, and then over time they've added loads of new currencies and loads of new features until it's got to the point where it's just complete maze. You need a degree in whatever to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I don't think I wouldn't say either of us are stupid.
No,
but it's just bewildering to me.
Yeah, as a new player, it's bizarre.
Yeah, but if you want to get involved, season 35 ends in 16 days apparently. So
what that even means, we don't know.
If you want to get on the ground floor of season 36, get downloading.
Anyway, I think we've slated it enough. We've had enough. It's had enough. Leave it alone.
It's already
dead. Yeah, probably our most scathing review of a game so far, I think.
It probably is, but well earned.
I think we've never really talked about mobile games before.
No,
because I'm for the same. I suspected you felt the same way about them that I do. That they aren't games anymore. Essentially,
no, they're not
gambling devices, really. And it's just to get those general concerns out through the medium of this particularly bad example of this game has been quite therapeutic, actually.
Yeah. We can but hope that whatever iteration Lemmings takes next is more becoming of such a storied franchise.
I mean, I don't know much about the other Lemmings games in the franchise, but just briefly, are there any sort of standout ones that you would recommend people get other than the first one?
All New World of Lemmings
Yeah.
is worth playing.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ported to anything other than... I think it was just the Amiga. I'm not sure on that. I think it's an Amiga exclusive, All New World of Lemmings. So you're going to need an Amiga 1200 for it. It won't work on a 500.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine it'd be quite cheap, so I would recommend playing it any way you can. 3D Lemmings for the PlayStation and Saturn.
That. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. The usual sort of teething problems that a game gets going from 2D to 3D. It doesn't always, work. It's kind of it's the same Lemmings formula. It's not like open world or anything.
Right.
It's the same classic formula, but just done in a 3D way. But because it was quite early 3D, it graphically hasn't aged that well. But the core of the game is still there. Lomax in Lemmingland.
Yeah, it looks really nice. That lovely
beautiful.
pixel art on that. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice pixel art on that. I've never played it, but I think there's Lemmings Paintball.
Yeah, I did see that written somewhere. Yeah.
But I've never played that, so I don't know what that even is. But yeah, I mean, if you stick to the Amiga games, you can't go wrong, really. So, All New World of Lemmings, the original Lemmings. The expansion packs are worth playing as well. The Oh No More Lemmings, Christmas Lemmings. It's all it's all good. If you like that kind of thing. The PlayStation port of the original PlayStation had a pack of Lemmings and No More Lemmings. That's worth picking up as well. They're really quite accurate ports of the original games. So, yeah, get those.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to see if Abby would come on and talk a little bit about Lemmings, but I don't think she does. I thought it might be quite nice because she was really into that. And she was helping me play it, helping me understand how it works. And because she's much more into her computer games than I was as a kid. They had a computer, with all these DOS games and stuff. So, but
that would have been good.
I don't think she's keen. We did have one comment on Twitter about Lemmings in general from our friend Webster. He says, "I wasn't very good at it, so would mess around by letting the lemmings die in increasingly comical ways."
Oh, we didn't mention actually some of the ways that some of the traps are really quite gruesome. In the first game, like there's like a hangman's noose, and they get.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, they get caught up in it, and they get hung.
I saw the one in Lemmings 2 where it's like an upturned bottle. And they sort of sucks them in and kind of like a vacuum, I think it is, and it just kind of kills them.
It's quite gruesome the way some of them, they meet quite sticky ends, some of them. But yeah,
just one more thing that I forgot to mention. It ties into when we talked about Walker. When we talked about that, someone said that it was the inspiration for Lemmings, like the little characters in Walker. And it turns out to be true. When one of the guys was designing those little characters for Walker, they sort of saw that and thought, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to have a game where those little guys are walking around and you could manipulate them and stuff like that?"
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that it almost came full circle to what we were discussing earlier in the year.
Yeah. I was just reading. Mike Daly is I mentioned previously the blog on javalemmings.com. He confirms that on there. He says Scott Johnson, author of Hide Guns on the Amiga, had just been hired as a freelance artist, given the task of creating characters for Walker. After building the Walker's head, he set about drawing little men for the Walker to shoot at in a 16 by 16 pixel box. I, however, maintain they could be done in less, 8 by 8 or so, I thought. One lunchtime, I borrowed someone's Amiga and set about trying to prove him wrong, and then he shows like a gif of a little animation he came up with that shows these little creatures going about. And apparently that's where, that was the genesis of the whole Lemmings idea. It's a really fascinating read, even if you're not into Lemmings, just the process of game design as it was then. I mean, I think game development now is a very different beast, but back then when it was just a bunch of friends making games together, it's just really a fascinating insight into sort of Amiga game development. So I'll post that on the Twitter for people to read as well, and I think it's well worth having a peruse.
Yeah. I was going to say something then, but it slipped out of my mind.
Oh.
Lemmings,
Walker, Amiga.
Lemmings, Walker. No, it's gone.
It's gone.
It was going to be a lovely final point as well, but I've completely forgotten what it is. Oh well. So yeah, Lemmings. A bit of Lemmings. Well, that's quite a good. I think that was quite a good sort of rundown of Lemmings in general for anyone like me who was completely new to the series. I hope that was proved useful to people.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I'd always say I don't think. Have we ever said? Have we ever concluded that a game isn't worth anyone trying? I don't think we've ever got to an end of a show and said don't play it.
We said it about Rise of the Robots. Understandably,
we did.
But I think that even when we did the Overblood, I quite enjoyed Overblood. So yeah, and even the ones that I didn't like so much that you did, like Medieval and Dino Crisis. I think even then I still said give it a try because they're obviously popular and you probably like them even if I didn't. So
yeah, I think
So I think we can add Lemmings Mobile to the list of ones that you shouldn't try unless you want to have a hilarious time looking at how awful mobile games have become. But yeah, Lemmings 1 and Lemmings 2, I even though they weren't necessarily for me, I certainly wouldn't say that you shouldn't try them because if you love computer games like that sort of and puzzle games and kind of like you could spend like half an hour or maybe even an hour on some of these levels, just trying to work out how to slowly work out a puzzle. I think they're definitely the games for you.
Yeah.
It just happened to didn't gel with me on this occasion, but
yeah, and Tim Wright's music on the original game is fantastic. It's this. I love the Amiga sound anyway. The Amiga's got such a lovely sound chip.
Yeah, well, I'll have to get you to pick out some of the music to be used in this episode. You can use some of your favourites. Let me know.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll let you know. So what's the next on the Podemup schedule?
Okay, so I want to do an N64 game this time because we've only done one so far. That was quite a long time ago, so I thought it was due. I'm going for Mischief Makers, the 2D game by Treasure. Are you familiar with it?
No, I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, it's one of those that because it was 2D and a bit wacky, it didn't generally get great reviews at the time, but has now since.
I didn't know it was Treasure. I think it's funny. I've got a picture in my head of like the old print ads that would have been in like a magazine from back in the time.
Yeah.
From back in the day when it came out. But I don't know anything more about it than that. I'm just looking it up now. I had no idea that was Treasure.
I think I've played it briefly.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it is by Treasure. And it's just
yeah.
It has that sort of characteristic sort of wackiness.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it in more recent times, it's been looked on as sort of an underrated. It's one of those games that was passed over a little bit, and is actually pretty good and interesting and fun. So I thought we should try it out.
Okay, that's great. I'm just looking at a screenshot. It's got a little cat on there, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm Cat Clancer, and I've come to destroy Marina, but I'm too weak. So we'll have to find out what that's all about.
That's a cliffhanger to leave on, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty good. So should have some fun with it. One of the few 2D games on the N64, so presumably it holds up a lot better than some of the 3D stuff these days.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. Not too pricey on eBay either. Cart-only copy. Yeah.
I didn't check that beforehand, to be fair. I probably should have checked that it wasn't super expensive.
It's not that expensive.
You can emulate it, and everything. So.
Yeah. The trouble is, N64 is starting to suffer the same as the Game Boy Advance, so there's lots of counterfeit cartridges out there now. So.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, brilliant. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So that's next month. I think that's about everything, isn't it? So
I think
if you want to email us, it's podemup@gmail.com. You can get us on Twitter @podemup. And why do I always forget the other one?
Podemup.live
is our little website.
Yeah.
That's it. So yeah, get in touch. Tell us what you think about Lemmings. Tell us what you think about Mischief Makers. Give us more games to look at. Interact, please. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
And our episodes are available where all good podcasts are available. Just in case you weren't sure. There's something podcasts say at the end, they're just available on everything, which I thought would be obvious, but
Sorry, I was trying to hold in a cough that whole time. That's why I was being a bit quiet. But
okay. That's fine.
I couldn't hold it in any longer. I needed to just have a cough. I need a drink.
That's
probably
absolutely fine.
Hot chocolate.
Coughing is allowed during recording. That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
I should get one of those proper, like a proper DJ radio presenter. They got a cough button.
They do, yeah.
Or one of those.
Button. Yeah.
Cough button.
Let's get that. Right, it's getting late, so let's wrap it up, shall we?
Wrap it up like a Christmas package.
Yeah, like a Lemmings Christmas package.
Like a Lemmings Christmas package.
All right. Have a lovely month, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.